Tonight, Russia has issued one of its most urgent warnings in years. The message is direct, and it is chilling. Do not strike Iran's nuclear power plant. The world may be closer to a catastrophic nuclear accident than at any point since Chernobyl. This is Bushehr, Iran's only operational civilian nuclear power station. Russia designed it, Russia built it, Russia still runs it, and now Russia says, touch this and face consequences that cannot be reversed. On Monday, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov stepped before cameras with an extraordinarily blunt message. Russia had already relayed its fears directly to Washington. The strikes, he said, were potentially extremely dangerous. Inside Bushehr right now, 72 tons of active nuclear fuel, 210 tons of radioactive spent fuel, and over 600 Russian workers who have nowhere to go because the airports are closed and the war is raging outside. This warning did not come from nowhere. Last week, a U.S.-Israeli strike landed just meters from the Bushehr reactor. Not miles, not kilometers, meters. Russia called it reckless. The IAEA rushed to verify there was no radiation leak. Russia's foreign ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova was unsparing. She called the near miss absolutely unacceptable and demanded the U.S. and Israel immediately halt all attacks on Iranian nuclear facilities. The conflict that began February 28th has been devastating. U.S. Central Command confirmed striking over 8,000 military targets across Iran, including the obliteration of uranium enrichment facilities at Natanz and Fordo. But Bushehr is different. Unlike enrichment facilities, it cannot simply be destroyed and called a victory. A strike on an operating reactor is not a military action. It is the opening move of an environmental catastrophe. So what exactly would happen if Bushehr were struck? We asked nuclear safety experts. The answer will keep you up at night. Rosatom Chief Likachev gave the most direct answer of any official, a regional scale disaster. Rosatom's Likachev said it plainly, 72 tons of active nuclear fuel, 210 tons of spent fuel. In the event of a strike, you are looking at Chernobyl-scale contamination across the entire Persian Gulf region. The Persian Gulf hosts 5 of the world's most important oil shipping lanes. Contamination here would not just be a humanitarian disaster, it would trigger a global energy crisis, sending oil prices spiraling beyond anything seen in modern history. Russia isn't just speaking for Iran here. Over 600 of its own citizens, engineers, technicians, Rosatom staff are trapped inside the Bushehr complex. President Putin has been personally briefed on evacuation plans. The question is, will they get the chance? If a Russian citizen is killed in a U.S. strike, even accidentally, we are in entirely new territory. This crosses a threshold that Moscow has been careful to avoid since Ukraine. The escalation potential is enormous. Russia is not alone in its alarm. The International Atomic Energy Agency has repeatedly called for military restraint to avoid any risk of a nuclear accident. The IAEA chief himself has spoken. The world is watching and listening. Foreign Minister Lavrov spoke directly with Iran's counterpart Monday, condemning the strikes as categorically unacceptable warning of catastrophic environmental consequences for every nation in the region. President Trump has been walking a high wire, extending his deadline for Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz by best days, while simultaneously threatening strikes on Iranian civilian power infrastructure. The mixed signals have alarmed even America's closest allies. Iran's missile forces continue to strike U.S. bases in Israeli cities. U.S. intelligence chief Tulsi Gabbard warned that Iran still retains the capability to attack American and allied interests even as its nuclear program lies in ruins. Turkey is now the key mediator. Iran's foreign minister has spoken with his Turkish counterpart. Ankara has bridged the unbridgeable before, but this time, with Bushehr in the crosshairs, the stakes have never been higher. So where does this go from here? 3 scenarios are now on the table, and none of them are comfortable. Our analysts break them down: a deal, a disaster, or a dangerous new standoff that could last for years. At the heart of this crisis is a question that goes far beyond military tactics. Does the international community have any mechanism left to prevent a nuclear catastrophe when the two sides fighting a war don't share a single line of mutual trust? Russia's warning is not diplomatic noise. It is a calculated signal delivered at the highest levels, relayed directly to Washington, that there is a line in this war that, if crossed, would set in motion consequences no one has the power to stop. Russia's warning stands, Bushehr stands, and the world holds its breath. We will continue monitoring this situation as it develops. Our full analysis and expert interviews are available on our website. For our entire team, stay informed, stay vigilant, and stay safe.